Welcome. I am Fred Wellman, Army retired Lieutenant Colonel. I'm host of Online VoteVets. Thanks for joining us in this late evening conversation. We wanted to go live, talk to you guys about a very serious issue and an issue that we have been on top of for a couple of 3 years now since the fall of Afghanistan, and working with our allied partners to get them to safety, those who risk their lives to be partners and work with us in Afghanistan. It's been a passion project and a professional project for many of our veterans and vote vets trying to help them. Well, there's been a lot of news developing in the last 24 hours as Donald J. Trump has taken office. Obviously, one of his very first things he's been passionate about is limiting immigration and limiting refugees. He signed an executive order in the first 24 hours that will freeze our refugee program for 90 days. And we'll go into more detail on that. While at the same time, we'll have some experts. We'll have Shawn VanDiver, who's been working on this issue, our colleague Eric Schmeltzer. And if we can work out technology, we may even have one of our Afghan allies who's going to be actually affected by this. So it's a very serious issue. We're so glad you can join us tonight. Let's first, today, Senator Richard Blumenthal at the hearing for the confirmation of Doug Collins to be the VA secretary, he actually brought up this issue. It's that serious. Let's look at what Senator Blumenthal had to say today.
Before I turn it over to Senator Morant, I want to just offer on a personal note, I am incredibly disheartened that the Trump administration is canceling the flights of nearly 1,660 Afghan refugees who were already cleared by the U.S. government to resettle in the United States. These allies aided our troops in Afghanistan. Whatever you think about the conflict there, the risks to these Afghan allies are so dire and dangerous, and many of our veterans groups have been advocates for them, as you know. In fact, the strongest advocates for resettling those at-risk Afghan allies are the veterans who benefited from their protection and their service, which involved putting their own lives and their families on the line. And yet, those Afghan partner forces and their families are stuck at the risk of harm in areas around the world. Our nation has a sacred promise that we've made to do right by the men and women who risk their lives for our freedoms and democracy and do right for their families. And that includes those translators, the guards, the others that put their backs in targets and became our loyal friends. And I will keep fighting to ensure that they're resettled in the United States and push back against any attempts by the administration to renege on those promises to our service members, veterans, and Afghan allies. And again, I want to offer thanks to all of the VSOs, all the individual veterans who came to the defense of those Afghan at-risk allies and have joined us in urging aid and freedom for them. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blumenthal, thank you. I now call on.
This issue isn't partisan. I know it seems partisan at the moment, but the issue of our Afghan allies, their safety, bringing them home. If you remember the evac situation, now obviously everyone remembers the fall of Kabul, but after that, I've never seen so many veterans of whatever partisan stripe you can possibly imagine coming together to work towards helping our allies. Human beings don't have a partisan nature when they're in danger from our enemies. And that was what's so remarkable about the Afghan evac effort. Now, Donald Trump's executive order will suspend the U.S. refugee program, and this program could leave at least, if not more than 2,000 of our Afghan partners in limbo who had previously been approved to resettle in the United States. It's a very concerning thing. The group of people immediately impacted will include families of roughly 200 U.S. service members, as well as families of people who have already relocated to the United States. Flights for those impacted in the short term have not been canceled yet, but they could be in any day now. The order itself is called Realigning the United States Refugee Admissions Program, says the admission of refugees under the program would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. The program is being suspended beginning on January 27th for at least 90 days, if not longer. The order goes on to state that after 90 days, the Secretaries of Homeland Security and State will submit a report to the president on whether or not the program would, quote, would be in the interest of the United States. A report will be submitted every 90 days afterwards until Trump determines that it is. And they go on to say the United States lacks the ability to absorb large numbers of migrants. I'm not going to bog down into that. The order does suspend the U.S. RAP, U.S. RAP, we call it, until such time as a further entry in the United States of refugees aligns with the interests of the United States. Look, since the end of the war in Afghanistan in August 2011 or 2021, excuse me, more than 180,000 Afghans have resettled in the United States. There's an open letter from our friends at Afghan evac who will be joining us to the administration and leaders in Congress, which urge the continuation of resettling Afghan allies to receive. That's got over 700 signatures and growing. 400 veterans are signing off on that. We'll see a lot more of that. This issue is very important to those of us who have served. It is since the day that Kabul fell, many of us been working hard at it. You'll meet some of our colleagues here at VoteVets who have been working hard. For those of us who left friends behind, and even those of us like me who didn't serve in Afghanistan, but did leave interpreters and others behind in Iraq, the passion we have for our partners is hard to measure. It's funny, when I first deployed to Iraq in 2003, one of my friends who was a Vietnam veteran, when he found out I'd be working with Iraqi civilians, gave me a bunch of advice, and he was in Vietnam doing the exact same thing, working closely with Vietnamese. It's a continuation of a long tradition that those allies who help us survive in a war are important to us. We want to take care of them. So this issue is very important to veterans, very important to VoteVets. So we want to take some time and sit down with you guys and talk about this. We're very fortunate to have some very important people who are doing it. Shawn VanDiver will join us. He's the president of Afghan evac. He's been very popular trying to get Shawn on TV. He's the founder of Afghan evac, vice president of external affairs at Athenian Group. He's the founder of this thing, and he could tell us how hard he's worked on it. Let's just bring Shawn in now. Shawn, join us. Good to have you on the show, brother.
Hey, thank you so much, Fred. It's, as always, a pleasure to interact. Wish we were interacting under better circumstances.
Yeah, we never seem to meet on good terms, Shawn. One of these days, you're
there was that one time at Quebec.
One of these days, we're going to have a happy reunion, but this is not that day. Look, Shawn, I know you've been all over the news and everywhere. We really appreciate you taking time for VoteVets. Obviously, a lot of our audience is veterans. A lot of them are not veterans. They understand. How serious is this situation for our Afghan allies?
Look, it's incredibly serious, right? This is, it's been 3.5 years. President Trump signed the Doha Agreement. President Biden followed through on it. August was a shit show. And look, guys like you and I stood up and said, hey, we got to get this right. I didn't serve in Afghanistan either, right? I served in Iraq, and I'll never forget Father's Day weekend, watching ISIS storm through and just my heart falling apart. Like, what the fuck was it for? And I got a call from a guy named Lucky in August 2021 and said, brother, I'm stuck on this mountain in Urgun. We're surrounded by the Taliban. I think I'm going to die. We're running out of ammunition. Will you grant my last wish and help get my family back to San Diego? And I, like thousands and thousands of others, answered the call. And ever since then, I've been working on Afghan evac alongside thousands of incredible veterans. And look, we're nonpartisan, right? We have folks I like to talk about Jack McCain, right? Jack McCain and I couldn't be more different. I'm a Democratic nobody. He's Republican royalty. I'm enlisted. He was an officer. He was a helicopter pilot. And my job in the Navy, our motto was, if it flies, it dies. Like, we couldn't be more different. And on this, we're aligned. So look, what this executive order means is that all of this effort that we put in, sure, SIVs should be okay. We don't know yet. But SIVs are a very narrowly defined group, right? And it's built to fail. Congress fucked it up when they wrote it. Like, there's all this shit in there. And the truth is that so many of our refugees or so many of our allies have to come as refugees. And we're talking family of U.S. service members, active duty U.S. service members serving right now.
So, Shawn, can you explain how that's? I know how it worked, but I'm sure a lot of our are like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean they married Afghans in there? No, these are actually other Afghans who have now come to our country and are now serving, right?
That's right. And think about it. Like, we had Afghans coming here in the 70s when the Soviets were there. We've had folks that have come since we went there and served alongside us there and naturalized and are now American citizens serving in our military, doing what they do best. And their families stuck over there. And Afghan evac worked really hard to get an exception. It took DOD 2 years, a year and a half to put policy around it. And the State Department has been moving these folks. And with the stroke of a pen, President Trump has crushed those dreams. So we think that this is a mistake. We think that the president, because he campaign on it, because he talked about this in every debate in on every day of the RNC. We think that this was a mistake, and we also know that we know a couple things about him, right? He values loyalty, and he loves to make a deal. So we're hopeful that all this press coverage that's coming in will get President Trump and Mike Waltz and all the folks there to the table so we can help them understand. And we thought we were helping them understand with this open letter that we did, which is available at afghanevac.org/transition-letter. But look, we've tried to prevent this from happening, and now it seems like, the number that Reuters put out, the 1,600 or so, that's 4 months of pause.
Okay.
But the reality is that the impact on this is on 30, 40, 50,000 Afghans. So people who served, so not just our Afghan service member or Afghan U.S. service members, but partner forces. So like Green Berets brought Afghans out here to go through Q course. We trained alongside them. We served alongside them. We bled alongside them. And I'll never forget all these Green Berets showing up in tears saying, I got to get my guy out. There's no path for Afghan military or government to come here through SIV. That has to be through a United States Refugee Admissions Program referral. And they just closed it. And it's not just 4 months. It's indefinite with 90-day reporting.
Right. Yeah. So it says that, but that may just be the start of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was last time. That's the danger. And so you think there may have just been, hey, by the way, a broad stroke policy that didn't understand the nuances of the details.
Yeah. And look, Afghan evac has worked. We worked with the Biden administration. We forced them to the table. We worked hard with them to get to a good place in all of this. And they got 193,000 Afghans out. President Trump spent the entire campaign season talking about how President Biden fucked it up. And we think August was a shit show too. But he can't come in and immediately shut off this important lifeline. This is lawyers and judges that put the Taliban away. This is families that were separated by our withdrawal, by the withdrawal that Joe Biden fucked up, and that President Trump says Joe Biden fucked up. But we can't just leave these folks there, right? These are kids. I have this weekend on Friday, I went to EWR, to Newark Airport, and I helped my buddy. I'm not going to say his name on air, but I helped my buddy. I sat there with him for 5 hours while we waited for his wife and 3-year-old son to show up. They got separated when that kid was 0 years old. I want parents out there to think about what it would be like to not see your baby from ages 0 to 3. I've got my 4-year-old out here, and I can't imagine. She was not talking. She was an itty-bitty baby who didn't have a big personality. Now she's got opinions. I can't imagine what it would be like to be separated. And you guys know what it's like to come back from a deployment, right? Like, I was trying to prep my buddy for that. Like, hey, man, like, sometimes when you're gone from your wife for 3 years, like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you get there. But when they saw each other, it's like the 3 years melted away. And he, like, clung to that baby. People deserve those reunions. The American public loves a reunion video, right? Dad showing up in camo at the schools. I don't know how I feel about those, like, whatever. But American public loves that. And these Afghans, these allies that stood with us, they fucking deserve it. And President Trump is taking that away. And we hope it's just a mistake and we can fix it.
Now, how many veterans do you have involved in this effort? Afghan AVAC, you've guys been going for a while now. It's remarkable. The longest one of them, I think you're still hanging in there. How long have you got? How many fellow veterans are involved in this effort?
I can't even give you, thousands, right? But it's so important. I like to talk about Afghan AVAC in 3 buckets, right? There's the organization that I run. I'm the president of. We are a nonprofit. One of the programs that we run is the coalition, the Afghan EVAC Coalition, which represents not just veterans, but a broad cross-section of American society at every color, creed you can think of. And most importantly, we've got hardcore MAGA Republicans and like lefty code pink Democrats, right? And everything in between. And then we've got the broader movement. And that's people that aren't even involved in Afghan EVAC, some because they don't like me. Which I don't understand. I'm fucking charming. I'm
reading the comments here. Apparently, I'm not very popular either.
But like all sorts of people all across this country, thousands and thousands. And the fucked up thing is that President Biden didn't until the last week of his administration acknowledge that all these people were doing this, right? From his lips. There were events at the State Department and the White House, but never press and never like. It was so important that their local communities heard from our government that what they did mattered. And now so many of our fellow veterans and advocates, and most importantly, our allies, are in crisis. They're freaking out. My phone is connected to a charger right now because it keeps dying. And it's just fucking terrible, man. Like, I don't post screenshots that people send me for a lot of different reasons, but mostly, like, I don't want to out our Afghan friends.
Well, that's the real danger, and we're actually trying to connect behind the scenes here, folks. We're trying to connect with our Afghan allies. Of course, internet is a tenuous thing, so we'll keep on driving on. But that's exactly the desperation, those conversations we've had. I've had the good fortune to work with some of our Afghan partners when they've arrived here. I live in St. Louis. I work with an organization called the International Institute of St. Louis, and to talk about nonpartisanship, the ultimate nonpartisanship is while the initial flood that came in after the fall of Kabul. Man, we had cars lined up around the block at the International Institute in St. Louis. Shawn, you should have seen it to believe it.
Yeah.
I went down to visit. They're like looking at me like, "Can you help with this?" And I was fortunate to work with Scott Air Force Base, their NCO club. You'll appreciate it as a soldier, as an NCO.
That's where my wife was born.
Okay, well there you go. The incredible folks at the Air Force NCO club brought, I think we had 8 different work parties that cleared out this school gymnasium they were using, organized it in a way that was usable. We're talking thousands and thousands of pounds of supplies. So this isn't about partisanship. I mean, we are, of course, sometimes a partisan organization, sometimes but not. But in this case, this is something that's it's a human thing, right? It's a part of who we are as volunteers who serve our country and serve our allies. And the idea of working with someone and leaving them there is a lot to ask of everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, on our team, on my senior advisory team, I've got Trump appointees. I've got people that are trying to go into the Trump administration now, right?
Oh, sure.
I've got folks that are Obama, Clinton, Bush appointees. We had George Bush's Surgeon General sign on to our letter. Like, we've got this broad cross. Like, it is, I've never seen anything like this. Never seen anything. I thought our coalition was going to fall apart in November because of how divided our country is. And somehow we've kept this shit on the rails. And we're going to keep it on the rails, right? People care about this. Yeah. I mean, Congressman Zach Nunn is a Republican congressman from Iowa. He signed on to our letter. Like, we know that people care about this. We know that, you know, some of our most ardent supporters working behind the scenes in the House and the Senate are Republicans, and they're just great American pay. It's been really wonderful to see this outpouring of support for our allies. And, you know, what I heard a lot from political experts, so that nobody cares about
those guys.
Nobody cares about Afghanistan. Okay. Literally every time I'm on a flight, every time I'm in a public place anywhere, and people see my lapel pin, they ask me what it is, and they always know somebody. They always know somebody that's impacted by this, and they're like, "Man, that withdrawal was fucked up, huh?" And that's what people know, but they don't realize that we built it because of this civic engagement at a global scale in the national security space. We've built this infrastructure that's meant to deliver for these allies. And it's fucking working. 5,000 Afghans a month were coming out. Vetted to the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program is the highest. It's the gold standard in vetting. It doesn't get more extreme vetting than that. And every one of these people was passing that.
Well, let's talk about that briefly before I bring in Eric and hopefully John from Afghanistan. That vetting, I'm sure there's people on both sides of the political divide that wonder, how can we be sure these aren't Taliban terrorists? I've heard it all myself. Can you explain just a little bit about just how extreme that vetting is to ensure these guys are verified and ladies are verified and truly who they say they are?
Yeah. I mean, I can't get into specific. We don't want to get into TTP. I don't want to lose whatever clearance I might one day have.
But I do want to make sure people understand it's not just some cursory thing, is it?
It is not like a secret clearance is just a few checks, right? It's just like a background check and like essentially an online portal. This is this is higher than top secret. These folks are vetted more than our U.S. military service members. They're vetted more than cops. They're vetted more than probably most federal agents. A lot of these folks had polygraphs. I didn't have to go through a polygraph when I was in the military. These folks are vetted over and over again. And you know what the best kind of vetting is? We threw them a gun and we said, "Hey, have our backs." And they fucking did, right? So I think it's silly. This is why I think it's a mistake. I hope President Trump is going to see the light on this and make an amendment to this or issue an exemption for Afghans before the worst things happen, right? Any day now, they're going to have to come up with an implementation plan. And I fully expect we're going to start hearing about flights being actually canceled.
Do you know politically why? I mean, he's been known in past administration, his previous time in office, things were very immediate. Do you have an idea why they put a January 27th date? Is that to allow time for these kind of discussions to occur before it goes into effect? Or I myself was surprised it was January 27th.
I was too. And one of the things behind all of this is, and I get it, I get operational security, obviously.
Yeah.
But they didn't run any of this by folks. Nobody at the State Department knew this was coming, we don't think. So they didn't have time to sort of deal with it and talk about it and figure and red team and hammer out the kinks or come up with a communications plan. We're the communication plan right now, right? Like my phone is ringing nonstop with Afghans, like Muhammad calling me and saying, hey, giving me the details of his case, which I can't do anything with the details of his case, but I asked a few questions and we can understand that, if you're an SIV or if you are an asylee and you filed an I-730, then you're probably fine. But if you're any kind of refugee, the order's pretty clear, except for on a case-by-case basis, they're just not going to be admissible.
Okay. That's terrifying. Okay. So we're working technology behind the scenes, folks. JJ is pounding away on keys back there. I just wanted to bring in our colleague, Eric Schmeltzer. Eric is a political consultant who's been working with VoteVets forever. He's muted right now. Eric, welcome to the team. I wanted to bring you in while we had this conversation. You've been working on this topic for a while. You got involved. Why don't you tell us how you got involved?
Yeah, I got involved. Well, I've been with VoteVets for a long time, as you mentioned. At the time that President Biden pulled out of Afghanistan, VoteVets was supportive of the move, regardless of how things unfolded afterwards. We've always supported getting out of Afghanistan and bringing our troops home. On the night when the Taliban started moving in on Kabul, it looked like the government was going to fall. We had put out a petition saying, regardless of what happens, this is still, the right move ultimately is to get out of Afghanistan, sign the petition. And we got a signature on there from John, who hopefully will be coming on in a moment, who was on the VoteVets email list. He had signed up, is just adored American troops, anything that had to do with troops or veterans he signed up for. And he signed the petition of support, saying, please help me and my family to come to America. I looked, it didn't look like it was a scam or anything like that. It looked legitimate. So I emailed them and he emailed back immediately saying that we're very scared and what's going to happen and they helped Americans. And so I called him that night with colleagues from VoteVets and some active duty military, some senior folks. We did everything we could to move him and his family out. Unfortunately, John was in Kabul that night, if I remember correctly, and his family was elsewhere. And it wasn't possible for him to round them up and get them to the Kabul airport in time. And so he ended up staying there. And for the last few years, I've been working the rather Byzantine system that we have set up for bringing over special immigrant visa applicants. And we've been through a whole merry-go-round, and we've finally gotten to the point where John and his family have been approved to go to Qatar to do their interview and then on to America. So they've done their background checks, everything checks out. The American government and CARE, which is the organization which flies him out, told him, it's a matter of moments, be on the ready to leave quickly. And that's where things stood. And, I told him I was a little bit afraid that Donald Trump may change that policy. And so he may want to start looking into other means and other places to go. And then we saw the executive order that was signed, and I had to break it to John that, that his flight was going to be canceled, that he should still call CARE the American government, but be prepared for them to say that he's no longer coming to America with his family. And so I've been in contact with him for years. I've sent him thousands of my own personal money. I've done fundraisers for him. He was a man of means, who helped out our troops. He wasn't particularly rich, but, what we consider middle class, I guess, over there. And now he lives in poverty. I've had to send him money just for flour and oil so he could feed his 7 kids. And he may go into it with you and we could talk about it, but he's been on the run from the Taliban, who keep on trying to find him and get to him. His kids have have gone through absolute torture. His wife is severely ill from all the stress they've gone through. And it breaks my heart. He loves America. He wanted to help America. He did it and put his own life and family at risk with the promise that they would have a better life here for their health. And that was a promise. You understand? So like our troops went and told these allies that worked with us that that was the deal, and that's how they were able to get the help that was so crucial for missions to be successful. If we pull this, for troops in the future, for indigenous populations, they're going to look at troops and say, "You got to be kidding me! You promised the Afghans the same thing. I'm not going to help you out." So it's not just cruel to the Afghans who put so much on the line for us. It hurts our troops in the future to be able to work with indigenous populations to achieve their mission. And so it undercuts our own troops. It makes absolutely no sense. But just on a personal level, it has been just absolutely heartbreaking to see this.
Yeah, and that's the thing is this is, and that's what we want to have Shawn and you and John is this is a very personal thing. These are real people who have risked their lives when we were there, have risked their lives even more since then, and we've worked very hard to get to this point, and to have the rug pulled out for me at the last minute it's got to be heartbreaking and terrifying. How are you? What are you hearing for folks, Shawn? I mean, how are you guys letting folks know?
I mean, we're tweeting about like, hey, here's what we know. Here's what we don't know. Like state still has to do an implementation plan.
Okay.
We don't think SIVs are impacted. We're just tweeting out what we're hearing and trying to make it as succinct as possible, trying to get the messaging across. Sometimes it's confusing in the press. We're hearing a lot of panic and a lot of worry, right? A lot of folks are waiting on their moms and dads to get here, or their brothers and sisters, or their children.
I think the one story I saw, I think CNN quoted a soldier in the 82nd Airborne, that one of his actual serving soldier in the 82nd Airborne, who is an Afghan refugee himself,
that's right,
is waiting for his family. Now, Senator Marco Rubio, who is now Secretary Marco Rubio, he was a big supporter of our efforts, wasn't he? I mean, didn't he sign one of the bills, or was a sponsor of the bills?
He signed one of the letters, yeah.
Okay, the letters, yeah. So in some sense, the new Secretary of State should be an ally in this, shouldn't he?
He should be. We would hope. And look, we don't know that he's not, right? Like,
right.
There's so much confusion right now because this is all happening in the beginning. Look, we are partners with State Department, right? And I hold the State Department in very high regard. I think that the State Department has done extraordinary work considering they're not a logistics organization, right? Like, and this was sort of the booger was flicked at them to figure it out, and they fucking did, man. Like, they established several third country processing platforms. Think about the complexity of getting people from Afghanistan to a third country to here, processing all of their medical and their immigration paperwork and their housing and all of that, right? That shit is complex. And if your viewers or listeners want to learn more, they can go to afghanevac.org/relocation. And we have an infographic there that sort of lays it out. But it's fucking hard. And we've got it sort of finely tuned, right? Like, there were 5,000 Afghans coming out a month, and we don't know what's going to happen now. We hope that it will keep going. We're ready to keep partnering, right? Afghan Evac, we love this part. We're so proud of this civic engagement, and we're so proud of the public-private partnership, right? The incredible people that we've met in government working on this. They're the ones that are impacted by this, not the leadership, right? The same thing.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating that, in the last administration, we ran into this sometimes where senior leaders didn't quite get it, why so many people were so passionate about this. And I'm hopeful that the dip is very short with this, right?
Yeah. I think we may have, JJ tells me we might be able to bring John on. JJ, you want to see if we bring John on with us?
Yes.
Welcome, brother. Welcome so much. So glad to have you with us. How are you? How are you feeling tonight, John? It's early in the morning in Afghanistan, I imagine.
Yeah, it's early in the morning. It's 6, 8 a.m. But I'm feeling well.
Yeah, I mean, we're so this news has got to be shocking to you. You guys
What
were
about
really
you?
close to coming over, right?
Yeah, John, he was asking your family. They told you that you were going to leave soon. The American government.
Yeah, it's okay, sir. Sir, can you repeat it again because the network is not working properly? Um, can you repeat again because I didn't hear it?
You were getting ready to come, weren't you, when you got
Yeah,
this news, right?
yeah. I got it.
Yeah, John, the American government
Okay.
said to be ready to leave, right?
Sir, I'm not feeling well here because since of 2021 August, I'm still stuck in Afghanistan and I'm in trouble because I'm changing my location every 2 months or 3 months, and also my children they are very scary. Everybody knows NVC experience also knows about it. Mm, and also few months ago someone kidnapped my daughter for 24 hours. Also you can check in the social media, share it on the social media. After that my I got my daughter alive back. When I got it, they drugged my daughter. I took it to the hospital in Kandahar. For 8 hours, she was in emergency. In all the completed report of the government hospital, I sent it that time to NVC Expedient, to Care Travel. I try with much time calling, but they are telling me the same thing. It is very difficult for me. And also I went to Kabul 2 times. My leg is broken at the passport area. No one wanted to issue me passport. When I was talking, they told me, you are going out of the country. I told them, no, I'm not going. The Taliban told me, no, don't talk too much, otherwise we will put you in jail. I came back. They told me, you want to go to outside and live in Afghanistan. Mm, Very much problem. I have never seen that type of problem they are looking for after me. The first time when I escaped from my home, after 5 days, I got my children and my wife. I escaped Kabul. I lost my everything, my house, my car, everything. For 8 months I was in Kabul because they were searching for me. And also I'm receiving phone calls from them from different numbers. They are calling me, you were procurement with US Army Corps of Engineers. Where are the armored vehicles? Just show me the vehicles. I will not call you after that. I told him, no, I did not work. I work with a private organization, but I don't know about the vehicles. I never seen vehicle, armored vehicle. They are saying, no, just tell me your address. But that's why I'm changing my location every time.
I
Sometimes
know.
I'm putting in my WhatsApp that the location, other country like Qatar, like somewhere else. I cannot on my location, or I cannot do on WhatsApp my location. I cannot tell to anyone. That's why I'm receiving every time phone calls. That few days ago also, Mr. Eric, he knows. Uh, they wanted to put me inside the car. They already did it. 2 person by force, they put me in the car. Uh, uh, After that, after 5 minutes, there was a checkpoint. When the car becomes slow, I got out. Uh, they put me for 6 or 9 hours in a very dark room. They took my cell phone. When they took my cell phone, they told me, what is the code? I showed them the code. They opened it and they connected with their Wi-Fi. I was alone at the dark room. After that, give me my phone back, and also I have those pictures. I already sent it to Mr. Eric. They begged me very much. They told me that all your fathers, American fathers, they skip, and you are son of American. They left their sons to us. They told me like this, and also they use very bad language to me. Very much time they slapped me at the passport area. Very much time. Also, it is very big problem. I'm in trouble, and I this life is it's really bad life for me. I'm just alive for my kids. That's why I love my kids. I want to move my kids somewhere. I don't care about myself. For it's my target to move my children to a safe area or safe country. After that, if they want to do anything to me, I don't care. I really love my children's. One time, my kids was with me. They slap also my kids. They are using very bad language. I cannot do nothing. Since 2021 August, I am jobless and I am at home until now. Even I do not have dry milk for my kids. Nothing I have. I cannot go anywhere and I cannot work. When I work, they are searching for me. And also my wife, also she's doing handmade handmade clothes. She's selling. My wife is selling clothes at the city. She's doing by herself, and also now her eyes not working. Also, you can see the legs of my wife that it's burnt. This
Yeah.
video you can see she's my wife and also in this condition. It is very difficult and very hard for me and very heartbroken. But I want to die, but I don't want to see this type of condition and this type of government, this kind of wild people. They are not listening to us. Just they are beating us. We are for this. I'm from Afghanistan. It's okay, but I'm living like refugee in Afghanistan. Refugee and also cannot go everywhere. Education looking after me. I'm in very big trouble. I'm not happy from my life.
Yeah.
Drive me
Thank you.
crazy.
And
I
John said we don't
become
want to. I don't want to cut you
mental.
off.
They are very bad people. In Kandahar, also too much Taliban's. All the leaders are in Kandahar. Uh, if someone shave, they are doing everything, checking, asking me many times, you work for USU? I told no, I did not work. I work for private government. That time I had a business license. I saw that the name is I saw business license. I made a copy. I told him, no, this is, look, it's a company, a construction company. I did not work with anyone. Just
Yeah.
I have business license. I'm private, but they are still asking and searching. Many times at the midnight, that time I told to Mr. Eric, and also he knows. Uh, they at the midnight they came, they knocked my door. When they knocked my door, my son opened the door. They said, "Where is your father?" Uh, my son told them he's in Kabul. He's not at home. They said, when he's coming, they are asking for my national taskira and also one photo many times, not one time. My telephone number. My son told him, this is my number. You can take my number, my taskira. And they said, no, I need your father. After that, they came again. They came again. Uh, that time I borrow money from someone. I moved from 11 district of Kandahar to the third district. Now I'm since 2 months I'm living in other area of Kandahar because they are asking too much. I'm very scaring about my children. because one time they kidnapped my daughter. If they kidnap again, if something happened to my child, my completed documentation, everything is complete. I receive emails, everything, but care travel telling me, okay, someone will contact you. Since 3 years, no one contact me, no one asked me, about our condition, situation. We are alive, we are die, no one.
Hey, John.
That's the
Hey,
problem. It's very big problem. Uh, yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I know you're asking a lot. We don't want to keep you on camera too long.
hey, John.
Especially, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, no, John. I told everybody. I told everybody that I let you know that the new president, Donald Trump, says no more flights out for Afghans. Who helped our troops. Even though you were promised that you were getting a flight out, he says no more. He's canceling the flights. What would you say to the president, Donald Trump, if he was here right now? About his decision to not let Afghans come here.
Okay, sir. So
We'll text it to you.
We're sending him a text message because the sound isn't coming through.
Yep. It's a rough connection.
Sorry to commandeer your show, Fred.
Question, sir. Is it that question for me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you repeat it again, sir? Because it's not what problem.
I told you that President Trump said no more flights for Afghans, no more allowed in America.
Yeah, sir. I request
what would you
from
say?
the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, to help us and also to tell his agency or organization that to move us as soon as possible because we are in trouble. I'm also in big trouble. We are extremely in danger. And also before I told you, they are looking after me. But since 3 years, I'm in the hell. It's hell, still in the hell in Afghanistan. But the people, they doesn't know nothing, and also they doesn't have any correct documentation. They already gone, and they got a call from Care Travel. They are living in USA. I hired them with me in US Army Corps of Engineers in Kandahar, but I'm still here. I don't know what to do. I ask many times Care Travel. They're sending me the same thing since 2023. They got my passports. Everything is completed. Until now, I'm here. When my passport become expired, he told me, extend your passport. I send it by travel agency. I borrow money, and for 1 year I extended. After 1 year, again they send me the email, your passport is expired, make a new one. I got a new one for 5 years again. And also I borrow money from US. That guy was working with us in Kandahar. His name is Stephen Pina. That Chinook aircraft helicopter, he helped me.
Yeah. I think we'll let you go. It's late
sir.
there.
Just,
Let's
I'm
go ahead
with
and
very big
just go ahead
trouble. Just if they, I want and I request for my child. You guys also have children. Yeah, just move us.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, John. We appreciate your time. We're gonna let you
Yeah,
go
it's
and
okay.
finish
It's
up.
okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much,
your
sir.
time. Hang in there, bro. Hang in there, brother.
Thank you. Talk to you soon, John.
Okay. Boy, does that take you back, Shawn and Eric? I mean,
I spend a
sorry.
lot of time.
I've had these conversations. Yeah, I mean, So for those watching, any one of us who served in Iraq or Afghanistan has had these conversations. As Shawn mentioned, I watched ISIS take over in Mosul. I was stationed in Mosul, and I had allies frantically making those calls and having those conversations where all you could do is hold the phone and listen to them because they just wanted someone to hear their cry. And Shawn, I imagine you've had a few of those conversations too, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm not the hard guy to find, right? Afghans Google me and find my phone number and
Yeah.
And I take the calls because the United States government doesn't pick up their fucking calls.
Yeah.
So, it's really disappointing, the whole thing, but at least people were moving. And now we need President Trump to make a different decision here.
I think let's cut there. I'd like to cut there, Shawn. What should people watching this show do? What should our fans and supporters of VoteVets and our members of VoteVets do? What is the call to action? Who should they be calling? Congressman, your senator? I mean, what do you recommend people do? What's our call?
What I need you to do is a few things. Go to afghanevac.org/elected-officials. Look up your elected officials. Send them a note. Say, hey, we need to be really clear. SIV or wartime allies is more than just SIVs. It's also refugees. These people matter, and we need them here. We need to ask for clear implementation guidance to ensure that vetted Afghan allies are exempted from this pause. And we want to make sure there's special provisions made for any Afghan that stood with us and is now at risk. We also need you to help us increase awareness, right? Pay attention to our social media. We're at Afghan Evac everywhere except for Instagram. They were Afghan_evac. And donate to us, right? Afghanevac.org/donate. Help us keep this fight going. And look across your community. Make sure that the elected officials that you know, the community leaders that are working on this, the resettlement agencies in your area, know that you want to be a part of this. Go volunteer, raise your hand and help out, and make sure you're shouting into the ether how much you want Afghans here and how much you believe that this is core to our national security.
Thanks, Shawn. Eric, any last thoughts?
No, I agree. And to John's point earlier, he's a father. Think about this: if you had kids and you put it all, every one of us who has kids would put it all on the line for our kids, and he did on a promise. And imagine if another country broke their promise to you after you risked it all, and you have to watch your kids. Like he said, one of his kids got kidnapped. For God's sakes, So absorb that and do what Shawn just said. Call your elected representatives at all levels and beg them to speak out against this and beg them to have the policy change or bring these allies to the United States. The more of us that speak up, the bigger the impacts will be. So, whoever you are watching this, please just pick up your phone and go do that tomorrow morning if you can.
And we'll put that. Well, Shawn, we'll put your link up here. JJ, let's make a banner so people know where to go. Gentlemen, I could go all night. I really appreciate your time. I know it's late. I know it's a lot to ask. Thanks for all our viewers. We will obviously be in touch, Shawn. Keep us up to date, Shawn, so we can help. For folks here on the screen now, here's how you can help Shawn's organization, afghanevac.org/transition-letter. You can sign on, put your name on that. Numbers matter. One of the frustrations I've had, you guys probably, as a political guy, is so many people on on the left or the progressive side have started throwing their hands up. We do have power still. We do listen. Our elected officials, Congress especially, are listening to us. We have to have our voices, and this is a chance for you to use your voice. So please do that, as always. With that, gentlemen, I'll let you go. Thank you for joining me tonight. I know it's special. Thanks for Eric. Thank you for your sacrifice and helping us. Thank you for helping John out so much. And Shawn, your sacrifice, what you're doing is amazing. I appreciate both you gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, appreciate you, Fred.
Thanks. Well, sometimes it shows it's not easy to have these conversations. I served 22 years in the Army. I did 4 combat tours, including Desert Storm, and 3 in Iraq. I lost my first interpreter was murdered by Al Qaeda. for working for me. I lost another one later. It's a very serious issue, those of us who served, especially those of us who served working with Iraqi partners. And I want to make one thing especially clear. I saw in the comments somebody saying our interpreters should have been taken care of. They were. A lot of our interpreters kind of were. A lot of interpreters are, that's that CIV, that special immigrant visa. But the ones we're talking about are gentlemen like John. John was one of our suppliers. So maybe he helped. He was the guy who went out in the market to find supplies for our troops because not all of our stuff was shipped in. Maybe it was someone who was a guard at the embassy gate or at a fob. They're in as much danger. Anyone who worked the Americans is in danger. So while the CIV program has helped those who were actually contracted by us, as some of my interpreters, folks like John who just work with us are in just as much danger, and they fall into that gray area of not a CIV, but they are part of us. And that's before we talk about, like I mentioned, the young man who's in the 82nd Airborne now, who actually has family members who are Afghan, and he can't get them here. So the programs that exist are nuanced. That's why a lot of us are hoping that maybe the idea that they're not going to implement this till January 27th that gives us a chance to fix this, but we have to use our voice. So I ask all of you who are watching the show tonight, use your voice. I will put that link back up before we go, but this is your chance to kind of have a voice in this. We do care about our allies and we care about them. And for the future of our national security, for our troops, when we do go to another war, we're always going to need our local allies to help us. And this is how we do it. If we don't help them, and next time it's going to be all that much harder. In the meantime, as I mentioned, I am Fred Wellman, the host of On the Line with VoteVets. You're right here with us. A couple of things about VoteVets. You can help our work. There's 2 places you can go at votevets.org. There's 2 buttons I always remind you about. Button 1, of course, our donate button. We can't do this work without you, without your support, without your monetary contributions. All of this costs money to do, all the work we do. So the donate button. The second one's the one I love the most. That's the take action button. You can click on that take action button. That tells you how you can get involved, how you can sign up for our email list, how you're going to be a part of any gatherings we have, or if we have a fly-in for veterans, whatever we may have. Sometimes we'll gather at a Capitol building to talk about important law. We also are supporting candidates across the country. 2025 is an election year. We will be supporting candidates at the state level and the local level in some cases. There's Mayor of San Antonio, for example. So this is your place to take part in that. So hit take action, help us do our work, help us continue this fight. It's so important we do. With that, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for joining us here live on our show. And as always, keep up the fight. We're just getting started, and you can get involved right now. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.